strain. Hi, welcome to Milk and Honey Heritage Farms. Today we're gonna make, elderberry syrup, but it's how I make it. And I've got a recipe and I'll share that with you. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're gonna take a saucepan and we're gonna go ahead and turn it on. You're gonna pre-measure all your things out. We're going to add 3.5 cups of water. Then we're going to add a 2/3 cupful of elderberries. Then 2 tablespoons of fresh or dried ginger. I grated some fresh ginger and measured it out, so I am going to add that right into the pot. Then we're going to put 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, which I freshly grated mine. You can just buy your cinnamon already ground up from the store if you'd like. And then cloves, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of cloves. And that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna bring it up to a boiling point. When you stir, you're gonna wanna use a wooden spoon or a plastic spoon with your elderberries. And so we're gonna get it nice and boiling. And then once it's boiling, we're gonna turn it down to a simmer. And then once it's simmering, we'll simmer it for 45 minutes, and then I'll take you to the next step that I do. And you'll also want to have some local raw honey. If you buy honey from the store, make sure you look on the back of the ingredients of, sometimes they say raw organic honey at the store, but look at the ingredients because sometimes it's not completely true. It can be in some cases, but not all. Anyways, so there we have it. I got fresh ginger. You can store it in the refrigerator or you can dehydrate it yourself if you want. You can buy a bag of cinnamon sticks, and I use a microplane grater to grate it. Or you can buy, like I said, the stuff that's already powdered up at the store. Cloves. You can put powdered cloves or whole cloves. I'll show you what the whole cloves look like. Let's see here. Whole cloves. And you can put some of those in there. I'm adding a few extra, which won't hurt anything if you would like. So then at the end, once I strain it out, and I'll show you how, we'll strain it out, we'll push the berries down and get all the goodness, and then we'll let it cool a little bit, and then we're gonna add a cup of honey. So whatever honey you choose to use is fine. If all you can get is something at the store, you know, that's fine. For what I use this for is, I take a teaspoon or 1/2 teaspoon once a day or once every other day. Sometimes I put some of it into the tea that I drink. I'll show you that towards the end. It helps with your it can help with your immune system. Do your research. And then I have these little bottles that I got from the dollar store, and I just washed them out with hot water really well. And I'll use a small funnel once we get it all done and it's cooled down a bit. We'll just use put a funnel in here to fill these bottles up and keep it refrigerated. But I'll show you those steps. So let's get this to the boiling point and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, we're starting to boil here. I'm gonna get it to a rolling boil. What a rolling boil means is when you stir it, it won't calm down. See how it kind of I know you can see the steam, but when it calms down when you stir it, that's not a rolling boil. So it's gonna take a little bit more. It's getting there pretty quick. It doesn't really take too long. And so what I use this elderberry syrup for, and my family uses it for, is just to help our immunity. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little sluggish or tired, or one of my family members is, we will take it a little bit more, use it a little bit more often throughout the day, which is fine for us. Again, make sure you do your research. Sorry, I have to say that. I don't want anybody to have any problems. Okay, so now it's at a rolling boil. See how I'm stirring it and it's still boiling? So what I want to do is I want to turn the temperature down on the oven to simmer and put a lid on it for 45 minutes. So it's going to sit in there and steep. All the goodness from the elderberries and the ginger and the cinnamon and the clove is all going to intertwine and mix up into the liquid. And then I'll take you back here and show you what the next process is. Thank you for joining me today. 45 minutes. We're going to let that simmer on a low heat. Okay, so 45 minutes of simmering the elderberry mixture that we did. I go through every once in a while and I'll give it a little bit of a stir. And I'll try to press the berries against the sides of the pot just to kind of release some of the good stuff that's in there. I'm gonna turn my oven off. It's pretty warm. You can wait for it to cool down a little bit or not, whichever you feel more comfortable with. You'll want to use some kind of a fine mesh, a fine mesh strainer, so you can get all those little bits in the strainer and not into the syrup itself. And so then what I'm gonna do, let's see, I'll bring you over here a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. All right. So you're gonna wanna carefully, so you don't splatter on yourself, pour it into another bowl, a clean bowl, with your strainer sitting inside. Get all those berries and stuff scraped out of your kettle. You don't want to use like a metal fork or anything like that. Wooden spoon or a silicone type thing. And see, this is all the berries. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna press down on the berries, squishing out all the juices in there. Okay? You just kind of keep doing that. Kind of flip it around, stir it around a little bit. And push until you don't seem to see very much coming out. And what you're gonna do with this stuff is you're gonna wanna compost it, or however you dispose of unwanted foods. You can feed it to your chickens if you have chickens. Chickens love elderberries. All right, there's that. And I'm gonna get a different wooden spoon because I've got some stuck on the bottom of my wooden spoon. I don't wanna put it back into my syrup. All right, so we're gonna wanna have it cool down to a cooler temperature so it's not steaming as much before we add the honey. Because when you add honey to too hot of liquid, it kills the good properties of the benefits that are in the honey. So I'm gonna let this sit a little bit to cool down. And I'm gonna make a tea while that cools down, and I'll bring you back while I make the tea, and I'll show you how I bottle this up. So I'm gonna get some tea ready. I've got a little teacup, and I've got some different infusers that you can use for loose tea of whatever kind that you like. This is one of my favorites. It opens up like this. So I kind of like that one. That's fun. Sometimes I go to resale stores and stuff like that and see if I can find any different types. This one's kind of like a spoon that opens up that you can put loose tea in. And it just latches there on the side. And then there's this that you can put some in there. If you don't have one of those, you can also use like a coffee filter and just tie like a little string around the coffee filter after you put the loose tea leaves in there. So that's another option for you. Or you can use already made tea bags if you'd like for your tea, if you drink tea. This is just something that I like to do mostly in the fall and the winter. So I have a strawberry pineapple green tea blend that is pretty yummy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this infuser, and I already stuck it in there, I have some in there. I'm gonna open it up and I'm gonna kind of scoop it and get some in there. And let it close, and then set it in my teacup. I'm gonna pour some hot warm water, not hot water, but warm water. In there. That way we can get the tea to start blending in with the water over here. And the reason I'm showing you this is just for an idea. And then I'm just gonna let this sit so that all the dry tea will start blending into the water. And I've still got my elderberry syrup right here that's cooling, and I believe it's cool enough right now. We can add the honey, and try to make sure that if you buy raw organic honey, that it truly is raw organic honey if you can. And the instructions say put a cup. So remember, we let this cool down. You don't want it too hot. And then you're just gonna kind of stir it around. And I've got my tea setting to the side, getting all good. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of this elderberry syrup in my tea. Makes for a great flavor. I'm just mixing this around so it gets all mixed up in here. There's a little bit more. I'll have to put the lid on and tip the bottle upside down so we can get all the rest out of this bottle. Don't want to waste any of that good stuff. Anyway, so you just mix it around. Very simple. And then when we put it in the bottles, excuse my arms, make sure your bottles are clean if you use bottles. You can also use canning jars. There's reusable lids that you can use. This isn't the right one for this, but this is for a smaller regular mouth jar. This is a wide mouth jar. It doesn't matter, whatever. You could even use glass jars that you washed out from different foods and stuff that you bought from the store. So that's an option too. You don't have to specifically buy anything. But then what we're gonna do is, I think I'm gonna get a ladle to do this. So hold on. still going. All right. Well, you guys had a few minutes to look. Mix that around. All right. I'm going to put a little splash in my tea. And then when I'm all done bottling this up, I can have myself some tea. So you just kind of, you might make a mess. It happens. It's still a little bit warm, so that's why the glass is getting smoky. You can let this cool down a little bit longer too. And then once you get it all bottled up, you're gonna end up putting it in the refrigerator. Keep it refrigerated up to a month. And I only use it, I don't use it 7 days a week unless I don't feel good, because your body kind of gets used to things. So you might want to skip a day or something of not having some. It's pretty good. Ooh. So now with elderberries, you can do more than just syrup. You can make muffins, breads. You can make jams or jellies. Like this right here, you could make a jelly out of the liquid. So there's that bottle. It looks like I'll have a bottle, a little over a bottle and a half probably left to put in the bottle. I'm just gonna let this sit for a little bit and cool off a little more before I put it in the refrigerator. And then I've got my tea right here. See how it tastes.